My dearest wide world of internets. Welcome to Lucatiel plus Ostrava, the third and final of the first little wave, the sweet 16 of the video series of this Trifusion. The final will be the final of the National Championship, yes. Which will also be ruined by Mark Emmert, just to make that clear. That joke is not going to make any sense whatsoever. Take a look at your time bar. That's a pretty long time bar, isn't it? Oh, yes, indeed. I know this more than anyone, believe me. But that's okay. The reason why that it's so long is because the first 30 minutes are going to be live comm of me trying to figure out this thing, and this is going to be an extremely complicated... This is going to be probably the most complicated of all the fusions thus far. Which does not bode well for the National Championship, let me tell you. But that's okay, that's okay. Let's get going, shall we? Love, plague of gripes. Hello, everyone. First off, I don't know if the audio is going to be cooperating with me. Whenever I first turned on my audio box today, I noticed that there was an abnormally large amount of interference coming from somewhere. I don't know. I've never been able to figure out exactly where it's coming from, so it may or may not be good. Anyways, let's get started. I already had Ostrava's little doodad drawn here, and I forgot that I deleted her, so I went back and redrew that real fast. I really don't need my resources in this case, but they are there in case I need to call upon them. But let's get started on this and try to combine these into the biggest mess you ever saw. Because this is going to be pretty fucking complicated, in all honesty. Because Ostrava here is absolutely brimming with armor. And Lucatiel just, she kind of has this, you know, her little chesty-platey magoo here in her face, and that's about it. So we will try to figure out exactly how to go about this. The easiest way is to start with what is the most similar. And that's going to be probably the breastplates of both of these guys. You would notice that the proportions are a little bit weird. To be honest, Ostrava's proportions, this is almost a trace, so this is accurate to his model. They kind of fucked this up. It should not be way up here. I don't know why they did that. So that's the reason why it looks kind of abnormal. Hers is a bit more realistic. I mean, everything is pretty much where it should be. I mean, notice the wrists always aligned with kind of where the crotch is. So his torso actually looks something like this. So it's actually, his waist is being pinched right up next to his rib cage, which is kind of unusual. I could see that actually being a thing, but, you know, it's still kind of weird to me. Anyways, let's try to first start with the chest. Just go over Ostrava first. Let's go ahead and bring this area down. She kind of V's off right here. So we'll try to bring that in a little bit. And coming up across just enough that I remember that it's there. That way it mirrors evenly. And he has these seams on the side. I'll go ahead and include those. And there's not a whole lot of difference between the two of them, aside from the fact that she has these obvious seams that run down along the sides. I can probably, since this is already fluted, I can probably include that without too much of a headache. And hers continues to come down as a single piece, whereas his is more of a, what's it called? A tasse or a tasset, or however you pronounce it. There's a lot of these terms are French because, you know, during this area it was England versus France, and this was after French occupation. A lot of English words had also been kind of transmuted over time and bullshit and so on. You Europeans will know a lot more about that than any Americans will, since we don't get taught jack shit in school. Because it doesn't really pertain to our normal everyday life. Let's see. But this, maybe I can bring it down. This looks ridiculous, though. I mean, if I did that, that just makes no sense at all. So what I might be able to do is, hers does end in a point, though. So I can probably bring these sort of plated doodads down and bring that over. And maybe I can work it like that. And it comes down like this, so that should be okay. I'm sorry if you guys get tired of me saying things like, oh, this and that, and that's just, how I think while I'm drawing. If you don't like it, draw yourself. You filthy skanks. I love you filthy skanks. Okay. And these don't really pertain to anything on hers. There's nothing here. It's just a big nebulous region of crotchal goodness. So we'll just... Maybe I will drop it, I don't know. Maybe I'll... Actually, since these aren't there, I will try to close this off a little bit. And maybe I can keep it that way and just hint that there's something under it without actually committing too much to it. And... with him and her... Her pants just go all the way to the bottom. His stop right there. So already before we even started the pants, we're going to have to think about what we're going to do with the boots. His come up with this polygon all the way up to the kneecap, and hers start more near the shin area. So what I can do is this kind of number. And I don't know if this is going to be metal or leather or what just yet, but we do need to get the shape down. Because it's not going to matter what actual fabric this is. What matters is the line. The meeting point of light and dark, how everything is arranged. After that, we can start worrying about whether or not we can incorporate metal or a fabric or whatever into it. Okay, so we have it down to where we need it. And I might be able to get... It doesn't really make any sense that there would be a kneecap section here because the knee is now up here. So, the easiest thing to do here is to just drop that concept entirely and just make this an elevated... Just raise this up just a little bit. This is actually a bad design as far as the, how it would work in real life. You wouldn't want it to do this, but... what thing we can do? There are boots that kind of do this, where they go all the way up like that. So I could do that number and just go ahead and bring this all the way up. But if I do that, then I'm probably going to have to commit to the idea that this is going to be leather. And I don't really want to do that. Problem solving, kids. Problem solving. So what I could do is... maybe... How do I want to pull this up? Do I want it like this? Or do I want it to be more like going down here then coming back across? I think it looks better this way, though. Just have it be more even. And it makes more sense if it was metal anyway. So I think I'm going to run with this being metal. Because then this can be a solid plate that has been hinged onto this with a leather strap. I'll just call it a lane. That's what I'm thinking of, a lane. And this can remain the same, because this one has its own meeting point. Although this is a leather strap that's going across the boots. I'm not really making that clear right there. So I can do this. Actually, hold on. Pull this down, and pull this up to where it meets the ankle. And that'll be the general idea for the leg. And now we can get started on the pants, which is probably just going to be like this. Nothing too fancy. Actually, this is probably going to be the fanciest of all the designs, in a way. Just because Lucatiel is going to have so many fabulous elements that are going to have to carry over onto Ostrava's random armor shit that he has all over the place. I think it's important to carry over this line, this dark crotchal zone that we have going on right here. And I don't know if I'm going to carry over these little insewn metal shards. I think I might just leave that off. Or I could condense it. I could, instead of although she doesn't have anything here, so that's my main problem. I could just have it be, instead of 3 rows, it's, 2 rows, like this. I could do that, or I could just say, maybe instead of that, there are plates, but there's nothing that's really like that on her design. So I will just kind of leave these 4 here just as a reminder that it's something that I could carry over but not carry over, possibly. Not going to commit to anything this early. And I think that we can go ahead and mirror this over and combine these 2 and see how that looks. It's not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, so we have this section already done. Now we're going to be coming to the more personalized sections. Actually, before I move on, let me review this and think. Is enough of... because a lot of this looks Ostrava-y. Let me think here. Move this over, and what do we have? What are we working with here? I might be able to get rid of these entirely. These little side plates. Or what I could do is make them into cloth, perhaps? But we have so many of those already in the other designs. What should we do? Because this is... you're losing a lot whenever you're not carrying over anything from this, and plus, this one isn't carrying down that much either. So, I don't know, guys. Maybe I will do something like... just have this be... have this actually be part of the trousers kind of area. Have it come down like this, and then have there just be a visible seam in the cloth right there, and then carry this down just like it does with Lucatiel, except just a little bit further, but not too much that it seems ridiculous. That way, we have this sort of sewn off. Should there be any sort of angular thing right here? Probably not. Although since this is fluted, I can carry this down like this. And that wouldn't work. Yeah, that's not bad. That's something I'll think more about later on. But it's important just to know that the lines are here, the meeting places. Again, that's what we're worried about. We're not too worried about committing to anything too much right now. Okay. But now I'm going to start thinking about... I'm going to leave the head for last. I think I'm going to try to get this hat on here in some fashion. It's probably going to look absolutely stupid, just having this hat sitting on, you know, a plate of armor, but I've kind of reduced this to the point that it doesn't look too much like it's overwhelmed by armor, so it could work as part of the design. And at this point, let's see. Let's concentrate on the arms first. With her, she just has these straight sleeves that are coming down. His are obviously completely just overwhelmed with armor. By the way, I wanted to point this out. I'm not going to draw their weapons just yet. There's something I might do it for the very last one. Whenever I actually give them weapons, we'll probably quickly go back over all of them and do quick little miniature trifusions and then combine them all into one final thing. Plus, his sword and shield are so fucking stupid. Well, I like them. You like shit. That's what you like. These are ridiculous. Look, it's like he's holding a buckler, but he has this extra bullshit around it that is designed exclusively to get things caught inside of it. That way he can get himself killed very easily. Good job. And what's with this sword? Look at this. Look at this stupid thing. It's a normal sword. It's a normal sword. Then all of a sudden it busts out into this thing. It's just this random ass shape, and it has big holes in the middle of it. Yeah, that's a really good sword design. Fucking stupid high fantasy bullshit. Not one of those FromSoft dumbasses thought that up. And yes, I know this is designed after Maximilian armor. I mean, I have the designs right here, guys. I'm not looking right at the things. What do you think? I just don't know? I know everything. Anyways, sleeves. I'm going to work this to another layer. That way I can get rid of it easily. Let's see. Let's just get the shape of the arm down first. Go away, gnat. I don't know where we get all these fucking gnats from. Every time, there's always one in my room, and I always kill it, and then the next day there's another one there, so I have no idea. There's no food or anything in here either. They're coming from somewhere in the house. Let's see. Just, the shape. I'll just stop worrying about that for a moment and just focus on that. Okay, so that's the general idea. This is going to be asymmetrical on this side. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to put something on top of that after I get through mirroring it. And with this, what I can do is, let me think. maybe I can get the cloth to move in and out of the armor or something like that. Like maybe I can rest a,
Spalder.
Why do I always forget this?
It's a spalder.
Not a pauldron, not a...
Spalder is literally...
Oh, I don't know. I just said it in the prior video.
Spalder.
Oh, well. But I can move this in and out. Does he have a... Yeah, he has a seam on both of these. A meeting point right here. So I can move the cloth in and out of that. And have his gauntlet here meet where the cloth is coming up. And have it look sort of like that. And he has this line, angular line right here, so I can move it down and make that into a strap. Which neither of them have a strap right there, but since there is that line there, that's the easiest way to deal with it. Okay, and I don't need to worry much about that just yet. Let's see just how that looks. Really need to clean that up, actually. Let's just go back down and work to another layer. Because that's messy enough that it's probably going to confuse me later on. And this is cloth, meeting points, more cloth, and then gauntlets, which probably is going to furl out like that. Actually, I'm going to move this a little bit out. I'm going to cheat a little bit because that makes more sense. Because that's a bad design to have it furling straight out in this direction, because if you're swinging at him and it gets caught there, that means it's probably going to rake inside of the gauntlet and hit his arm, which is a stupid way to design a gauntlet. I would probably not make it in the video game industry, because I would be too concerned about things actually working correctly. And especially for modern FromSoft that is apparently obsessed with high fantasy now and has forgotten completely about the idea of things actually working correctly, I would not be very popular. Okay, let's flip you, and we're almost done. We're getting there. And I don't need you anymore. Alright, and turn Ostrava back on. Okay, and this guy's going to be pretty bulky. I'll have to shrink him down a little bit in the future. Let's get his shoulders for both sides done. She has these things. This very... I don't even know what to call these. By the way, I think that the grass on Solaire is supposed to be a reference. It's some sort of Japanese reference that their lower class soldiers would sometimes make little capes out of grass or something like that. It's one of those things that makes no sense at all outside of Japan, so I don't know why they keep doing things like that. But it's a thing for them. Like, there's plenty of things about, like, references to shrine maidens and things like that that Western audiences don't understand, but yet it's a game that's based on Western ideas. I don't know, they seem to just do whatever the hell they want, so... Anyways, that's probably what that is. Anyways... he does have raised sections here, but they look nothing like that. What I'm probably going to do is... Maybe I can get one side to be cloth and the other will be partially metal. I don't know, this is probably going to be tougher than the actual face is going to be. But what I can do, let's just get our rough idea down. His curls across, and it's not a pauldron. What is it?
It is most assuredly a spalder.
Oh, I can't think of it right now.
No, of course.
It's one of those things where there's so many pieces of armor that I know what it is, and I'll think about it in 5 minutes, and then think, well, obviously it's that. Why wouldn't I know that?
5 minutes in the future here, it's spalder.
But we can probably make this... Maybe I can... Since this is so segmented, maybe I can partially segment it into other pieces of cloth. Or not cloth, but whatever this is. I don't know if this is cloth or what. That's really strange. It could be insewn metal or something, or this is resting on top of metal. I have no idea. I would probably have to research it. Maybe I'll do that before I continue. But I could angle this up and then have it come across like that, which doesn't really make any sense. This is the problem of designing. Just trying to figure out what exactly to do, and having the cuff doesn't really make a lot of sense either. Maybe what I could do is, instead of worrying about it being part of this, part of the the shoulder, I can have it just be part of the neck and have it come across like this and be a collar on both sides. Then after that, situate something on top of it that is probably just a single sheet of metal or something. Because I don't want it to be overly segmented because it is already on Ostrava, which would bring too much of him back over. But with her, maybe what I can do is this number. And then have that be sort of almost just like this, but a metal version. And I want to keep that raised up. It's not really raised up on her end or his end, but that will make it look a bit more like cloth versus just being straight up. If I did this move and had it just do that, then it would look a little bit too much like just straight up metal and nothing else. I could probably shave that down a little bit, though. Just have it look a bit more straight, because this is a very rigid shape. This is why I'm doing it that way. So that, I think that's what my solution is going to be for that. Let's turn you off for a moment. Doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too great, but it will look better in the final result. And one last thing for the shoulder. It's going to be the same thing, except in this case, I don't know if I can get away with this or not. But since she does have a collar, then it would make more sense to have this look a bit more like a collar, even though this is obviously just a visor, or whatever these are called exactly. I think of them as blast shields, but that's my modern mind at work, I guess. Okay, and I don't know how much of this I want to carry over, but I'll go ahead and do the shape of it. And let me turn you off, Ostrava, for a second, and think about this. I want to carry over some of her, so I will do this. That way we have these golden little trim things going on, and I can pull that down into, actually that, I could probably keep this a bit more simplistic, because his does curl over like that. That's another one of those things that I'll probably figure out much later. But it does need to be something that's situated directly under it. Maybe this could be... Actually, yeah. Maybe it could be part of the collar, and just have this carry over to one side, and have this be part of the cloth that's sitting under it. And I could use that later, because there are a couple of other moves like that on the Solaire and Ostrava combination. So I could probably carry that over that idea over a little bit that way too. So that works for me. Just have it be like this. Maybe I'll layer it. That way it folds down a little bit more evenly. Something like that. No, I don't really like that. Maybe I will keep it straight up like that. I need a strap here because this is not hinged to anything. Make sure that's strapped down appropriately. And that's about what it should be, I think. Okay, and let's not make that so rigid and hard. That way it looks... I don't know. Hold on. Let me turn Ostrava back on for a second. It's weird that his does that. That doesn't really make any... I mean, it does as far as the layering of the armor goes. Let's do that, because what I think is happening is that this is just situated on top of this, and this is curling back over, and that's the reason why it looks that way on Ostrava. So actually what I could do is I can make this be the same thing. Just mirror that over, and have it look just like that. And then I could put another piece just under it. Ugh! But it will look something like that. Come on. This is tough, but we can make it work. Actually, let me go ahead and... What side is it on? Is on that. Okay. What the hell's this, then? What's this? What's layer 1? Nothing. Layer 1's nothing. Okay. Let's mirror this over here. Come on, flip. I'm already running this a bit too long, but this is just what design is like. It's a pain in the ass. And I can do that. Let's turn you off, Ostrava, for a second. And that's like that. And this is layer 1, of course. Okay. And I can situate whatever this is on top of that and erase this. And it would look something like that. Okay, that makes more sense. Alright. That's the benefit of mirroring shit. Alright, and what is... Get rid of this for a second. That way I know what I'm doing. Merge all that down, and that's about it as far as the shoulders go. One more little move to bring over this idea from Ostrava, turn him off, see what I'm doing. And that does not look too bad, I don't think. Let's carry over that cloth. And that'll sort of be what it is. It doesn't look quite right now because I've been fiddling with it so much. So it's not going to, everything isn't going to look as like proportioned and everything's not raised exactly where it should be and so on. But that's the general idea. So I'm happy with that. Let's now get into the real shit and figure out this fucking mask. And I don't need you just yet. Alright, the mask. Oh lord, this is going to be a nightmare. Because she has the straight up eyes, he has the visor, he has all this nose shit going on. And I don't want to do another giant dad sort of thing like I did with the first one exactly. So maybe what I can do is carry over more of Ostrava's face, but just have carry over the lines. That looks a bit silly. So let's expand this out a little bit. Get the lines up. And I don't know what the nose. The nose I can probably just carry over a little bit of the visor thing here. And do this number to make it look a bit more like the eyes. Remind myself with some of the little lines to put those there. And we have the nose already. And we can do one little final little thing. No, I don't want to do that. But I want to keep the mouth sort of thing going on, I think. So what I can do... No, maybe I'll... No, not soon, come on. What I can do is just have it be sort of like this, maybe? And infer a mouth plate? I don't know, I'm losing a bit too much, because there's so much shit going on in her face. Lucatiel, why did you have to do this to me? Look at this. Honestly, Lucatiel. You're so rude. But you're so heartwarming. You're the best character in 2, but come on. Let's see. Let's try to get the idea down. I'll probably have to carry this... Oh, no. Ugh, I hate the look of that. Actually, let's work up the top for a second. Let's... Because this is... I'm going to try to get this stupid hat on here. And what I could do... Ah, yeah, that's what I should do. I should just get rid of it entirely and just have this be open mouth. Except for the chin strap, obviously. And then what I could do is just have this be an actual beard. Although, if I want to make this a woman, maybe I'll just make it a woman. Maybe I'll make it like a lady face. Pouty lady. That's my woman mouth that I drew in 2 seconds. And this is hair, by the way. It's not just a veil. It's her actual hair that's coming off of it. So I could do something like that. And... there is nothing on Ostrava that is even remotely like this hat. But let's think about this before I continue any further. Okay, since these are not similar at all, what is it about his helmet? Let me turn my resources back on for a second. What is it about his helmet that carries over even remotely to her hats? And I'm seeing 2 things automatically. You see with her hat, if you can view through my bullshit here, she has this raised portion that almost acts like a sort of reverse a reverse visor that goes over the side of her hat. You can see here. There is something similar on him in that his visor goes all the way up, like this, and it reaches up to his forehead. And also, since he has this fluted helmet, he naturally has these lines that are going back like that. So those are the 2 main things that we can incorporate inside of this hat's design, I guess, to try to bring things over a little bit. So let's curl this back over some. Oh, but I can't really... But that's okay, that's okay. And I can just curl this back over like that. But the main thing is, since his is swept back like this so much, and hers is kind of just going all over the place, I'm going to try to get her feathers to sweep backwards a bit more. And just have that one singular feather come up a bit more over to the side, I guess. And that'll look a bit more natural for that design, I think. Okay, let's get resources off. Turn off Ostrava, see what I'm doing. Ugh. Lordy. This isn't mirrored, so it's kind of a mess. Let's get you down some. And mirror this over some so we can see what the hell it is that I have done to myself. Oh, this particular sketch has been a minor nightmare. Because it is so difficult to combine armor and cloth like this. And he has a kind of Gorgay thing going on down here. Okay, so that's the general idea that I'm going to be working with. Let's... How do they look? It wouldn't have the visor. A visor would hinge like right here. So it would probably come over to this area and pull down this way. And that's how that would look. Okay, that looks a little bit more natural. So I'm thinking this is a good starting point. You may be thinking, good starting point, you're done. No, this is a good starting point. And get my... No, stop zooming in. Come on, undo. Come on, control. There we go. And do it like that. Okay. But this is a mess right now, but it will look a lot better in the final result. Let's merge this down already. Okay, and now I will skip into the posing and all that. Alright. But we're done for now. Oh, Lord have mercy. But as you can see, this is the mess of designing. But take it away, future me, for Lord's sake.
No, look, No, you can't... That's not how you handle it. You can't just... You can't solve the problem of giant ants with an entomopathic fungus. I know what it does in real... No, I know. The smaller ones. It infects them, they climb to the top of the plants, they erupt, and this big spine erupts out of their heads. You know, yes, I know, it is killing them. No, that's not... It's an imperfect solution. Look, we have giant ants now climbing to the top of every single skyscraper because we don't have giant leaves here, okay? So now we have these giant ants climbing to the top of the goddamn skyscrapers and erupting with these gigantic fungal eruptions out of their heads. No, look, I'm glad that you're trying. I'm glad that you're trying, but we're here fighting the ants to try to save civilization, not... Yeah, I know we can rebuild, but I don't exactly want to live in a forest of these gigantic zombie fungus things that... No, look, I got something I have to do right now. Just... No, we'll talk about it later, okay? Yes, it does look fucking radical, because there's these giant spiny... It looks like It looks like goddamn high fantasy Tolkien bullshit out here, let me tell you. And I'm not too happy about the fucking wasp either. No, we'll talk about it later. We will talk about it later. I'm busy. Okay. No. I love you too. I have no idea who that guy is. Okay, what the hell am I doing? Oh yeah, this thing. Okay. The primary stage was pretty fucking complicated. Because it took me absolutely forever to figure out something that actually was a unique pose, but at the same time actually, looked kind of interesting. You could see me trying out several of them, and none of them seemed to really work. It's fucking crazy. But eventually I settled on this one. And I had to clip several bits out because I kept getting email and Skype alerts, which I keep turning off, and they keep coming back. Oh well. But anyways, I finally did settle on this one particular pose. It's pretty difficult to nail one down. Because the thing about what's his face over here? Ostrava over there. He doesn't really have many unique poses. Like Lucatiel has the concept of pose of her sitting down and doing that kind of thing, and she has the leaning against the wall pose and things of that nature. And Ostrava, most of the time that you meet him, he's just standing there in a static pose. Since he's really just
He's just a player model, is what he is. I mean, he doesn't have, like, a face or anything. He's just there. So it was kind of hard to nail one down that kind of unites both of these. Especially since this one ends up being sort of Lucatiel-y. That's not a word. It's pretty easy for her to overpower everything else. Here I'm going back over, I'm describing this, but you've seen this enough times. You probably know exactly what my process is by this point. But I finally got the pose down, and I'm just going back over with a really rough kind of general idea of this is what all the details are going to look like and so on. For a lot of people, this is a good stopping point. You know, just getting this part done and that's it. And, you know, really, I, in a way, prefer it to look like this. This really sketchy looking with a bunch of shitty primary line work in every single place. But it's a really different look than something that's completely realized, which at the very end of this video, you'll see it's pretty different looking from this. That's for damn sure. There's a lot of things in the primary that I didn't really kind of figure out completely. Probably the most dire one is the mask sort of area that's going on. I tried off camera, so to speak, several times to come up with... Oh, actually, I did include it. So you just got through doing it. Well, one part of it anyways. Several times I went back and I kept trying to think, well, maybe there's a way that I can make this more Ostrava-like. But the more I thought about it, the more I preferred it this way. Yeah, it looks like a drug dealer pose. Yeah, I did it again here. But I kept trying to think, well, maybe there's a way that I can make it... Because right now, it's very, very Lucatiel. That sort of goes away a little bit in the final result, but... Here, it's pretty fucking overpowering. The mask never really worked too well, though. Because a lot of it ends up just looking like Ostrava's helmet, except it's slightly smaller. And with this one, I wanted to not make it a complete mask this time around. That's kind of the main thing that I'm running a problem with. If it was a standalone thing, I probably would have just made it straight up just a helmet. But since I've already done several of those in this Trifusion series, I decided, you know what, I'm going to have one that's at least a little bit different. Plus, the main thing here was people were complaining, oh, I want the hair, I want feathers. I want it to be so good, so fabulous. I could just rub baby oil and butter all over my body and just all night long, just get the wine and just rub it all over. You know, the comments were just like, you can go back and look. They were just like that. I'm not lying. But, so I wanted to make sure that I get that dumb hat in, at least one of the things. Because there isn't much Lucatiel in the other one so far. There's lots of minor details, but you can't really see her in any of them thus far. So I wanted to make sure that there was at least some semblance of that idea. And I also wanted to make sure that there was one obviously sort of female character. Although, to be honest, once I kept going with this, and I eventually decided, you know what, it could be a pretty man. It could be a pretty man. I don't care. I really don't give a shit. It could be pretty man. It could be hermaphrodite. It could be an alien posing as a human. I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter to me. It's fine. But I did want to get variety in, is what I'm getting at. There had to be some level of variety. You notice I drew the finger there. I decided to kind of sit that there to let myself know this is where the hand is going to have to anchor later on, so I made sure to keep that to its own layer for the time being. This, the little, whatever this is called, the hat dome. If you need me, I'll be in the hat dome. This thing, try to make it as Ostrava-like as possible, but again, it already kind of looked this way to begin with. The problem with this hat is that, again, since no one uses the hats, except for Lucatiel, then not a whole lot that I could do with it. The only thing that you can really do is change, like anytime you have a situation like this, where you have one character that has something that is dramatically different from the other character and they don't have it at all, the only thing that you can do is say, okay, we're going to take this, in this case, this hat, and we are going to give them the hat, but we are going to try to change the hat to look as much like this other person as possible. So if this person had their own hat, and it looked just like this, then what would it look like? And if that sounds confusing, it's because it is. And that's kind of the difficult part of trying to design anything like that. Is you, like in this case, there wasn't a whole lot that I could do with it. Because Ostrava, again, is just brimming with metal, and that's what he is. Like, he's a Maximilian ripoff. You know, he's just modeled after real, actual armor. And I did try... What I did was I decided, instead of messing too much around with the hat, I'll just try to make everything else look as solid as possible. So, the hat looks more or less the same, which kind of irritates me, but at the same time, it kind of pleases me. Because it's not the exact same thing in every single way. What I could have done is maybe make the hat not have this kind of dome thing that Lucatiel does, and just have it be a straight dome, and then have that look sort of metal-like or something. I don't know. But point being, I'm getting off track here, but point being is I needed to get that damn hat inside this drawing. And that relates to the face, because if I get the hat on there, obviously I can't have a full-on helmet. And that's the reason why I gave up on the idea of trying to make the face look more like Ostrava. Primarily. Of course, I wanted that, it to be potentially female, or androgynous, and all the other stuff too. But if I gave it a helmet, then it would not make any sense at all. It just would not. It would look ridiculous. Having someone in full-on European old-timey helmet, visor and all, and then just they're wearing a hat on top for no good reason. It would be like someone wearing a ski mask, and also they were wearing a baseball cap or something. Which some people made it. I don't know. I'm not threatening your life choices, you bastards. But that's okay if you want to do that. Whatever. I don't know. Anyways, with my line work here, pretty self-explanatory. There were a few things that I caught, but I've kind of forgotten about since then. Earlier, you could see me adjusting the canvas because I couldn't get the right stroke down. Whenever you're drawing in real life, which I'm assuming that if anyone has any drawing experience, surely you have drawn something on paper. I know all you damn kids and your Tamagotchis and paint tool size and whatnot. You may have experience only doing digital, but if you're doing traditional, there's a lot of putting your hand on the sheet of paper and twisting the paper from side to side to make sure that you can get a proper stroke. Which, this may make no sense at all. But whenever you're an artist and you're drawing things, there are strokes. There are movements of your hand that feel very natural to you. Like, some people have a very natural side-to-side hand motion. Some people have a very natural up-and-down hand motion. Me, I'm all about diagonals. Like, I'm very all about sweeping motions and things like that. So you could see me earlier whenever I was trying to get that one line around the neck where the breastplate was meeting up with where the clavicle is. Or it would be anyways. I couldn't get that stupid right stroke down. So eventually I decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna move the canvas a little bit. Which honestly, I should probably do that more, but I was just being stubborn, I guess. Fingers don't look right. Fingers don't look right. Fix it. Fix it! There you go. Okay, that's much better. Good job. Okay. Getting hands on the hip, holy shit, that is a nightmare trying to get hands to look like they're resting on a hip correctly. Even if you look at photographs, like, if you're drawing anything, it doesn't matter if you have like a cartoony style. Oh, don't hit the microphone. It doesn't matter if you have a cartoony style or whatever. You still need to study real life to get a idea of how things should be exaggerated and what things actually look like so that you can make it cartoony. But
say you're looking at a photograph. If you're looking at a photograph of someone actually resting their hands on their hips, if you sit there and look at it long enough, you will realize this looks so weird. Because it kind of looks like the hand is just floating on top. Which it is, but it looks like it's just kind of magically just floating in midair, like every single photo that you see of someone with their hand resting on their hips is photoshopped or something. It is so bizarre. It's like that thing where if you think about a word too long and it stops seeming like it's a real word. There's kind of a thing for that with photographs as well. Is if you look at something long enough, a certain pose, you will start to realize how odd it looks. Especially whenever it's frozen. Like if it's in motion, you can't really have that. But in motion, it's a real clusterfuck. One thing I'll point out about the pants here, I might have pointed this out in the live commentary, I'm not sure. But this idea that there is it's either metal or it's like I don't know, it's like a big sheet of leather or something. But there's some sort of armor that I think is under all this cloth, and that's the reason why it protrudes like that. Have you ever seen those old sort of like chivalrous knight things where they have the big baggy pants that have the insignias on them? And in pictures they look absolutely ridiculous, and you think, oh, that's so dumb. They must have been so embarrassed to wear those. But then you see like longsword competitions, which you should check those out. Those are pretty cool. If like at any sort of fencing competition or longsword competition, sometimes you'll see people wearing those, just to be historically accurate and to kind of get in character, I guess. And it actually looks pretty neat in motion. It's just one of those things. Of course, medieval drawings aren't exactly known for looking awesome. So I imagine there's that too. But if you see them wearing it in an odd way, it looks pretty neat. Okay, done with the line drawing. Hooray! I'll celebrate by taking a drink of this Gatorade. Oh, my throat. Oh, my throat. Oh, Lord, this takes so long. Oh, this hurts me to remember. This is one of the reasons why this drawing was such a pain in the ass. Because I had the broad idea of, you know what? This time I'm not going to be lazy. I'm going to do this the proper way, just to see how effective it is. And it is kind of effective, I will admit. But holy shit, is it a lot of work. I am lassoing out every single major area, like all the hair, I'm lassoing out all the line work of anything that's related to the hair, anything that is hair. All the metal is going to its own layer, and so on. I'm cutting all of it out of the main drawing, and putting them all to their own separate layers, contained all inside one folder. But you will notice I also keep the original whole line drawing to its own layer as well. That way I can keep selecting things more easily. Because if I contain everything to its own layer, then some of these lines are not enclosed, obviously, like these little bitty straps that I'm putting in. These are not enclosed, so if I tried to click inside them on their own layer, then it would just pick up the whole canvas. So that's the reason why you want it to, you want to make sure that you have at least one layer that's fully enclosed, if you're going to do this. But the reason why I am doing this is so that I can later, once I am done with all the painting, which is probably going to be about 8 hours from now, because this did take quite a while, I can go back over and recolor the lines to match more accurately whatever I decide the color of the material that it's enclosing actually is. Because as I've mentioned before in the past, there is no such thing as a line in real life. There is only meeting points of light and dark. And a line represents one of those meeting points. Like the outside line, like the pants here, like there's black outlining where the pants are. In real life, that would be, say, very light colored fabric against it took 25 minutes to do all that. Very light colored fabric against a darker background, or a lighter background with darker fabric or something like that. And if they sort of mesh together, if someone's wearing gray pants, like camouflage. If someone's wearing camouflage and they're standing in front of a wall that matches that exact same texture, whatever their clothes are, then it's going to blend in very evenly. So if you were drawing that in line work, there would be almost no lines, because there wouldn't be any meeting points of light and dark, because they're the same tone and the same texture and the same pattern and everything else. That's what lines are. Yay, that's what lines are. That's my explanation. Oh, you fucking feathers. I'm so sick of these feathers. Because I'm no good at it. And I haven't learned jack shit about these goddamn feathers. Yeah, I know that's part of the dome. And I haven't learned anything about how to draw feathers. I mean, they look fine, I guess. But I would like them to look better. But I haven't figured out a way to get it to look any better than this. Without it being overly realistic. It's been very irritating in that respect. Oh well. Maybe one day I'll figure out these feathers. The final line drawing, I already have sort of an idea in my head of what the pose is going to be, no matter what the drawing is. I may change it, but in any case, it's going to have feathers, I'm sure, because all the other ones have feathers. This one has almost exactly Lucatiel's feathers up top. The first one had the sort of people complaining about it being overly fabulous. I still like them, still okay. That one still has those feathers, and the second one has the fewest with that one. So obviously the final version is going to have quite a few. It's going to be quite a pain in the ass. Oh, take a drink. Here I'm just going through and clipping out the metal portions. I'm assuming that these are going to be like little bitty metal plates that are either sitting on top of the glove, or probably more likely. Well, no, I don't want to say more likely. It's probably sewn in with the fabric of the... If you were designing it like this, you would probably sew it in with the fabric of the glove itself. I forgot my trim lines here. Which ends up looking pretty good. I'm glad that I didn't forget the trim for these things, because to me, the trim is what actually ends up selling the design, I think. Looks pretty damn good, if I must say so myself. But I've forgotten here to put the trim lines to their own layer, so that's what I was doing. Several times I do that. I find a spot that was not closed off, or I forgot to draw some minor detail. So what I would do is draw it on a new layer and then copy it, and then make a second layer with the exact same line, and then pull it down to the folder where I have the individual lines and merge it to wherever it needed to be, and then merge the other one to the whole line layer. Pretty simple. But one of those things, a lot of drawing like this is just problem solving. It's just like animation. I remember my very first little shitty animation tutorial video that I did like a year or 2 years ago. I have no idea what it is now. But that one I said kind of the same thing, that animation was all about problem solving. And I still think that. If I can get back to anime, Guys, I know a few of you have expressed concern over the fact that I have not released an animation in a while, but obviously I think that's like one or two people that are, not really understanding about it. The rest of the people that say that are just like, yeah, it would be nice if we did have some. And I know it would be nice. But as I've explained in the comments, and I'm sure that you guys already know, but I'll say it again anyways, with the Patreon thing suddenly coming out, and everyone needing commissions, and the new computer, and trying to assemble that and get everything back in working order and everything, plus knowing, plus these Trifusion videos, which I have to do because of all that, there would be no time at all. I couldn't do the Shitstorm cartoons this year, which Matt didn't ask anyways. Don't blame him for that. I've already talked to him about it. It was just a matter of, I'm not even going to go into all the bullshit of it, but, I didn't have time. That's what it was. I didn't have time to do it this year, so couldn't do it. So they had to get another dude. And that's pretty much it. But I am very eager to get back into animation, believe me. Whenever I last animated the Patreon thing, I was so sick of animating. Because it burns you out so badly. Especially whenever you're not doing like little 30-second animations every month or something like that, like most animators would, because most animators are not insane. But me, I tried to get like a 3 to 7 minute long animation in every month and a half or something. And especially before Patreon, that absolutely burned me out because it was, I was doing that and only making like, $300 or something a month or whatever, for, just busting my ass unbelievably. So it'll be nice to actually be able to, in theory at least, try new things. I still have to make monthly releases. What I might do is make like even whenever I'm doing the animation month, I'll probably do like a single, like an art video or something like that per month, just to make sure that I get that month down. Although that's a little bit asshole-ish, I don't know. I know, you guys can tell me what you think about that. But anyways, I just wanted to make sure that, because during those months, I will finally have the liberty to try new things. Like, maybe I'll attempt to do a 30-second, entirely frame-to-frame animation video. Because I don't have to worry too much about going over the monthly limit now. I mean, I still have to make monthly deadlines, or else I don't get paid anything for that month. So that's why I was thinking about the art videos and things. Because some of these projects could take not just 1 month exactly, it could be a month and a half. Who knows? But anyways, just, I guess, let me know about that or something. But that's the reason why I'm looking forward to animation, because now I can actually do new shit. And I have a few new ideas for animations, but my ideas have all been Dark Souls related, unfortunately. So I might just wait on that. I have no idea. I didn't want to do another Dark Souls, because everything's been Dark Souls on this fucking channel for a while, and I didn't want that. Just to get this quickly out here, I'm doing these emblems, and you can see the fact that if you try to do this on each side freehand, you're going to drive yourself absolutely insane. It is much easier to draw it on one side, copy it, and of course it's not going to match because it's on a curved surface. So what you have to do is use your lasso out the area that needs to bend this way and use free deform or something of that nature to try to get it to bend the way that you want it to. Which can take quite a while, but in this case it wasn't too bad. And in this one I should have drawn this side first, because I had to blow it up, whereas if I had drawn it on this side and then put it on the other side, I would have shrunk it down. And since I'm drawing in rasters, that means since I blew it up, which I made it bigger in other words, it made it blurrier looking. So I ended up having to fix that by going along the edges and erasing some of them and shit like that. There I forgot my little bitty end scenes. Well, I didn't forget them, but I left them for last because I didn't know exactly whether I should bother or not. Start of a new day here. Finally got done with all the base coloring and starting on the shading. Even though, why are you coloring the shading in this shitty brown? It's just so I can see what it looks like, that's it. And of course, as I've explained multiple times, once I'm done actually laying out where I want the shadows to be, I just change the color, that's it. What I'm doing here, I think I'm using the standard pencil, because the standard pencil has very, very hard edges. I didn't want to change the settings of my line work brush, because that's actually just for soft line work. But I'm doing this because usually if you're doing digital coloring, what you do is you zone out all the individual... This isn't really for shading shadows and light artwork. Whenever you're doing painting, like you're just painting like skin tones and things, you wouldn't do it like I do and put down like a base skin tone and then go to another layer and then put like a shading skin tone and then another layer and use the light skin tone. You wouldn't do that. What you would actually do is use one layer and one layer only and put down like what color you want the darkest section of the skin to be, and then figure out this is where I want the shadows to be, and you would paint the shadows. And you would, paint the sort of mid-tone value of whatever the skin is going to be, and then you would paint the whitest section. But all of that would be these very hard geometrical shapes. Like, they would just be, triangles and very hard straight edges and things like that. And that's just to get... That's sort of a traditional painting technique. You just lay down like charcoal. Charcoal's a great example, because you do this exactly. You lay down your darkest sections against your midtones and your lightest sections, and to make them look more natural, you try to blend them together, which is what I'm doing here. What I'm trying to do, anyways. Because what makes it easy is you already have your blackest blacks set up, and you already have your whitest whites set up. So the only thing left are midtones. And the midtones are going to make up most of what makes something look realistic. Not the blackest blacks and the whitest whites. So, the only thing you have to change are the midtones. So you just end up dragging your blackest sort of area away from itself, and that naturally makes it look a bit more gray. And in charcoal drawings, you do this using something called a tortilla, which is not as hilarious as you might think, unfortunately. It's just a little rolled up, sort of cone-looking sheet of rolled up paper, I guess. I'm not even sure exactly what they're made out of. But you use that to go back over and kind of just lightly spread things and even things out. You can also use other shit, but that's just what I always enjoyed using. I fucking love those things. But I hated charcoal drawing. I absolutely hate traditional drawing. Not traditional line drawing, because that's how I learned, obviously. But things like traditional painting and charcoal drawing and this watercolor, it just drives me batshit insane. Because I am all about precision, and things like painting and charcoal and all this other stuff is not about precision at all. It is about knowing how to blend, how to adjust to however the material is moving on the canvas, and just not overly committing to things and not trying to get things exactly as you want them, but responding to how it is being applied to the canvas. Which obviously you should try to get as close to what you want it to be as possible, obviously. But this is kind of the nature of painting. You can't just say this is the way it's going to be, and if it doesn't look exactly the way that I want it to be, then, I'm going to throw it out. Because you will never, ever be happy in that respect. And even digital work is kind of the same way. You can't say this is exactly and art in general, just any sort of drawing or painting or whatever. You can't just say this is exactly what I want it to be, and if it isn't this exactly, then fuck it, I'm going to give up. Because again, as I've said in videos prior, a lot of art is about learning. It's about teaching yourself. It's the same thing with writing. Writing is about self-exploration. If you're not learning anything, then you're not doing it correctly. And especially with art, you naturally should be doing things that are out of your comfort zone. So if you lay down a color and you start trying to move it around and it doesn't look right, don't get angry and, I'll pull poop out of my butt and eat my poop. Don't do that. What are you doing? What the fuck's wrong with you? Crazy asshole. Poop goes in the toilet, not your mouth. Why would you do that? You should be learning from it. You should put the poop down, and realize for a second, maybe this looks good, but in not a way that I expected it to look. And people, ask me art questions all the time. How do I get better? And all this other stuff. A lot of the answer, like, someone asked me, how do I develop my own style? And I can't remember if I answered this publicly on Tumblr or not. But I said myself, I don't really think I have a style exactly. Like, there are plenty of artists that you look at and you say, oh, that is that dude right there. And you can kind of do that with mine, I guess. Although people mistake my shit for other people's shit all the time. It kind of drives me crazy sometimes. And I've gotten a few messages from other artists that are like, who the hell are you? And why are people saying that you are me or I'm you and so on? But anyways, but in developing your own style, a lot of it is just going to come down to drawing things that are so drastically different from what you are used to that eventually you find one sort of move. Like, if I'm talking about strokes, that's a move. Like, how you apply the stroke, how much pressure you put on it, what direction you're going in, what angle you're approaching it from, things like that. Most people don't think about it, but that's something that really can define you. And even how you apply color, and if you're doing traditional, how long you wait to apply different kinds of color, and what kind of materials you use, how much you thin your paints with water, if you thin it at all, or, and so on. It's just trying new things until you come up with something that surprises you, and you say, oh, that's an interesting effect that I didn't expect. And suddenly you have invented a distinct look, like a single move. And then on another drawing later on, you'll be drawing and think, oh, here's another move that I just learned. And it's not something you did intentionally. The things that will make you grow as an artist, and the things that will make other people look at your art and go, wow, that's neat, are things that you learn as a result of sheer coincidence and mistakes. And that's probably the best thing that I can tell you, is that you can't rely on intention. You can't rely on the idea that you are going to nail it every single time. What you should be doing whenever you're doing any sort of art-related project is admitting to yourself that you don't know what you are doing, but that's okay because you're learning, and the art that you are making is going to teach you. And whenever you are applying all these new tricks and things, it's not because you're wanting to, it's because you're just finding them. It's like you're treasure hunting every time that you draw something. You lay it down, and then you notice something and think, oh, I'm going to take this with me. And then once you get enough of those little treasures together, if you put them all together into an entirely new project, you might end up with something that looks so distinct because of all these little moves that you have learned that it ends up becoming your own style, and it becomes very distinctive of you. And I've seen a lot of people that are like that online. And it's kind of irritating that you can't draw in that specific way, but that's because they have earned the right to that style because they have made so many mistakes. And that's what a style is. That's how you make your own style. You screw up. That's it. A lot of young artists, or even old artists, there might be like an 80-year-old lady watching these videos. Oh, that's such a pretty armor. I remember when I fought in the medieval wars. And she's doing that and having a bad old lady voice. And she is saying, well, I can't draw, Every single time that I try, then I screw up something and I get irritated and I quit. But that is so fucking common. That's common with everything. It's not even about art. It's just being an adult. There are so many people that try once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and they fail 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then they decide, you know what, this is beyond me, and they give up. But that's not how you get better. You just have to keep going over and over again. And I understand the irritation with that, because if you're not doing what you have set out to accomplish, it can be so irritating that you just don't want to bother. But the thing about enjoying art is that if you're going to get better, you need to actually just enjoy it. Like, it doesn't matter if it's not turning out the way that you want. As long as you are able to enjoy the process, then you will be fine. Just keep drawing. Keep doing new things. Keep making mistakes. Because that's the only way that you are going to improve at all. Is if you keep trying new things, failing, and then come up with new solutions to problems that you will encounter in the future. You are only as good as the effort that you are going to put in. You can do anything so long as you are willing to put forth the effort to actually improve. You are as good as the time that you put into something. and I don't want to say that the trick to getting better is just drawing over and over again, because it's not. The trick to getting better, as I've said before, is doing new things, trying new moves, because like I've said, if you just draw the same thing over and over again, and you never try anything new, then you're going to get really, really proficient at doing the same thing. Your style, if you even have one, will never improve. You will never improve, you will never learn anything, you just won't go anywhere. So that's the trick. So I'm not advocating just practice. That's the solution to everything. Just practice more. Because it's not. But it's practice plus exposure to new things. And that applies to real life too, I guess. How do you grow as a human being? You just don't do the same shit all the time. You need to try new things. Even if it's things that you don't like or things you don't agree with. Forgot the lips here. It's a lady now. Oh, fuck yeah, those lips. I actually hate lips. It just bugs the shit out of me having to draw lips for some reason. Not that I find them that difficult, I just don't like the look of lipstick on women for some reason. I kind of, if it's like gloss or something that blends in with her natural skin tone, I like that, but like this really deep, completely red lipstick, I know other women like showing off because that's the reason why women usually wear makeup. It's not to impress men. Who gives a shit what men think, honestly? They're doing it to impress other women, for the most... I mean, not making a generalization here. Come on, Tumblr! Rush to my aid. But the thing is, it seems like women really like that bright red lip, because, oh, look at my fucking lips. But I hate that. I think it looks disgusting. Because the only thing that I can think of is she or he, I guess, if a man is wearing lipstick for some reason. Which you can, yeah, I don't give a shit. But whoever's wearing lipstick, all I can think about is how it's just completely layered all over that one section. It's like, just imagining how much it's just caked onto their skin. Ugh. I don't know, maybe this is me, just grosses me out. Which is kind of funny because I used to haul pig organs and cow heads and stuff out of the slaughterhouse, and that didn't bother me at all. But whenever you start talking about lipstick, lipstick. Now, if you put lipstick on like a cow head or something, like a decapitated cow head, I don't know, man, I have to look twice, I don't know. Who can say, really? Maybe you should open yourself up to new experiences. Anyways, I'm kind of finishing up, I think. I am finally going back over. I've got all the sort of shading and lighting and everything all done. And I'm going back over the line work and changing all the color. Like the armor, I'm changing to sort of a... Also, you need to keep in mind what your natural lighting tone is going to be. Like if the lighting is going to be blue, you want to make sure that it's kind of on that blue spectrum. If it's yellow, you want it to be sort of red and orange and things like that. But anyways, I changed like the armor to sort of a purplish color. If it was like a blue tone, then I would change it to blue tone. So, for the most part, our little friend here is done, whatever gender it is. Hell if I know. And just going through the motions here, filling out the background. It's some minor... I'm thinking about minor things whenever I was doing this background, like the shadow wasn't blending appropriately for a while and things like that. Little nitpicky things that I was thinking of. And I end up... Yeah, okay, here we go. That looks better. That's another thing. You're not gonna get shit like this right the first... Even as simplistic as this is. I'm sure that a lot of people will get furious with me making a background this... Oh yeah, fucking God rays. Yeah, God rays. Awful looking God rays. Low opacity solves every problem. You can't overdo it on those, or else it would conceal all the details and things. But everything worked out pretty good in this one. I think this is probably the best of the lot as far as the rendering goes. The actual design itself, a little bit too much Lucatiel in there, but that's okay. That's okay. You can tell the Ostrava's in there too. But to me, it kind of looks like a powered-up version of Lucatiel. Like if Lucatiel ate some steroids and beat the shit out of her brother,
And it's like, nah, fuck that. Family doesn't mean shit. And, decided I'm going to put on some hefty armor and stuff. It would probably look a bit more like that. But you could also, I guess, say that what if Ostrava was a lady? And then you fuse that idea with Lucatiel. Then I guess you would want it the same thing. I don't know. But more importantly to me is that now we have enough variation in between all three, that fusing them together is going to be a little bit easier. Doing my little poses here. These were balls hard. Because again, Ostrava doesn't have many signature poses. And a lot of the artwork for Demon Souls was, you see what you think is him, but it's actually the official player armor. Like all the games have had the official player thing. Like the Elite Knight set in Dark Souls was the sort of official canon player appearance. In Dark Souls 2, it was the Ferrum armor. And in Demon Souls, it was what he looks like. It was Ostrava's armor. It was that fluted armor. So, a lot of the official artwork, it's not even... You say, well, this pose, but it's not even him. It's the player character. And like I said, a lot of the times you encounter him, he's just kind of just standing there. But there was one time in which you find him sort of the end of this kind of long hallway sort of area. And he is trapped behind some, not trapped exactly, but he's behind some bars. And he wants you to, again, help free him. So I kind of applied it to this one. Fix that face. There you go, that looks much better. So a lot of these poses in this one, I was trying to come up more with less focus on the pose and more about the narrative. The bottom one, I thought, well, what if we never really heard about Ostrava's siblings, if he had any. So what if he had a sibling? And I thought, well, I'll kind of just come up with a more generic looking pose and just kind of throw that at the bottom and say, well, maybe that's his brother. And in this one that I'm doing here, I'm coming up with the idea of what if this character, this combination of these two characters, met his or her own father, as Ostrava did. And Ostrava, his big problem was meeting Daddy and realizing that Daddy was a sinister demon. Or the illusionary demon that Alant had created was actually him. But anyways, I'll get more into the lore in the next video, which will be the big finale, I guess. So that's going to have a lot of production values. But anyways, as far as this one goes, as far as the final result of all this goes, looks pretty good, I'd say. The render especially looks pretty good. As I said before, the actual design, a lot of the things that I combined from Ostrava were similar enough to Lucatiel's aspects of Lucatiel's design that ends up looking very Lucatiel-ish. I think if you actually just replace the head with Ostrava's helmets, then it would be just way too much Ostrava. So I'm on the spectrum of it being too close to Lucatiel, too close to Ostrava. It's leaning a little bit too much in one direction, but that's okay. Because again, if you changed it to the other extreme of changing the heads, then it would be the same exact location on the spectrum. The body is just fine. The face, I actually like the face and everything. The only problem is the hat, which you people wanted the hat, so I gave you the hat. But that's probably the source of any problems that you might find in the overall concept of the two characters fusing together. It's going to be that damned hat. Could have made it a little bit better, I think. But again, I don't really have many regrets here. My only real regrets here are that the poses could have been a little bit better. But a lot of that, I think I might chalk up to not having played Demon Souls yet. So maybe I didn't have enough inspiration, I don't know. But I'll try to fix a lot of that in the next video, because I will be pulling in a lot of more outside resources to give you an idea of exactly what I have been thinking about during all of these fusions. Like all the character information, their dialogue and things like that, I'll be pulling that up. If they have any like cut dialogue. I'll try to go into that. And it'll be a little bit less commentary and a little bit more showmanship, I guess. I don't know. But I will see you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed these 3 videos. But I will see you in the final one. And if it is going to be as elaborate as I think it is, you're going to enjoy it. And I will be very tired. I will see you then.